right. Of course, our guest in the 8 o'clock hour would be Karen Nunez Teixeira. All right. So it was supposed to be at 7, but she asked to be moved 8 o'clock. And I said, sure, not a problem, not a problem. And so she'll be on at that time. In the meantime, I'm trying to get another guest here. I'm just waiting for the call back while they move around some stuff. All right. But we can take your calls on our morning poll. What do you think? Tell us. Call us right now. 222-8255. 612-8255. And of course, North Americans, 866-525-1099. What do you think? And tell us why you don't think so. You think Mrs. Karen Nunez Teixeira can unseat Dr. Rowley as leader of the PNM? What says you? Call us. Tell us. All right. Jacqueline says no to the poll. All right, Jacqueline, you came in late, but yeah, I guess you're with the majority. Yeah. All right. So we'll take some of your calls regarding our morning poll. Let's go to our lines. Good morning, caller.
Hi, morning.
Morning.
Morning, Steve.
Yeah.
And
Paul.
And Paul. Just two of you here today.
Yeah, Richard has alcohol poisoning.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh.
Well, he says it's food poisoning, but we know better.
Yeah, he said it's food, but we know, and of course you know as well.
But they all say that with me, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it can be the food poisoning, the alcohol, so it's food poisoning.
It's
the same thing anyway.
The food poisoning, the alcohol, so he upset that the food poisoning, the alcohol.
Oh my gosh, wow. It's a good thing like his last play is next week.
So he accurate.
Yes.
He get food poisoning.
Anyhow, good morning, Richard, and good morning, Wendell, wherever you are.
What do you think about Mrs. Nunez Teixeira's challenge to Dr. Rowley? Tell us what you think, please.
What I think is that I don't think that she's going to be successful, and my opinion is that if she is a member of the PNM, and if she feels that certain things can be changed, she can address it right there within the PNM hierarchy, rather than coming out openly. Yeah. In other words, to try to bring other ideas that she would think might be more beneficial to.
What about those who think that we didn't say that for Dr. Rowley when he challenged up Mr. Manning?
No, okay. Well, yes, that is true. We didn't.
Yeah, we didn't say that when Dr. Rowley challenged Mr. Manning was successful.
Yes, but at that time I wasn't really following the politics to that extent, okay. So I really can't comment that much. These days I'm following it much more closely and listening to everything that is going on. And
what do you think? What do you think about the calls for sacrifice?
Listen, I don't think that should ever be used, because however you take it, regardless of what strata of society you belong, you always make sacrifices. So that's part of living.
I fully agree with that.
Yes. So I don't think that you should be talking about we should make sacrifices. You know what I mean? When we make sacrifices, we have made sacrifices all along, and without even being asked to make sacrifices, we do it within our own household.
Mm-hmm.
So that is totally irrelevant. I think that the approach should be a bit deeper. How much deeper? To what extent? I can't say at this particular point. I'll have to think about it. But it has to be something better than that, rather than coming and telling us to make sacrifices. You understand? Because it's totally ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous to tell us to go back to coal pot. You understand?
Yep. I just don't understand where that narrative is coming from.
Right.
and ride bicycle and stuff like that. I just don't understand it. It's just like what?
Correct. Yes.
You work so hard for 40 years and 30 years to go and pull out a coal pot
Yes.
and ride a bicycle? Come on.
Yes. You might pull out a coal pot now because you want
If you feel to.
a barbecue pit and you don't
If
have
you
a
feel to.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Really?
That's
I just find the sentiment, the narrative is so ridiculous.
But the modern thing is that they do the barbecue in the oven now. You just put your sauce and whatnot.
Yeah, but you can't be telling a population
Thank you.
from a parliamentary podium, pull out your coal pot if you don't have gas. Really? It's so ridiculous.
Whatever the price of cooking gas going up, I wonder that's why.
No, it did not.
I wonder if it's going up.
No, the finance minister said that it remains the same.
All right. Good morning.
Morning again. Hi. I would like Mr. Sher to win because I'll tell you straight. The thing that you're there?
Yeah.
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yeah, the thing that Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley has said are so degrading to Trinidadians, especially something that she brought back to mind yesterday, that women are like a golf course. You have to groom them. That is so disgusting. Really disgusting and insult to women. And I'll tell you something else. I'm in America 33 years. I've never heard a congressman, a senator, a president, a governor, or anyone ill speak the American citizens. They speak about the white supremacists. They speak about the bad groups. But they have never spoken to the American citizens and say, you're lawless, or you don't sacrifice, or
Well, you all had Trump who grab women by the peer. You all had Trump, remember you all had Trump. So let's not say any.
And guess what we did with him? Guess what
right, but you said you never heard an American president, but he was one who said those things. So that's not entirely accurate.
Wait. That's all. Get me correct here. He said those things and he's not there anymore. So you give him a chance, yes, and he's not there anymore. Dr. Christopher already continues unabating saying these things about Trinidadians and buffing them and don't answer questions at press conferences. And yet he's still there. And then you say no, that he cannot win, but that she can't move him. Why? Because Trinidadians are lacking backbone now? My third Trinidadians are lacking backbone? Is that what's happening? Think about it. Trump talked that yes, and he's out. He's out. Quick to show Rowdy is still there. So you understand what I'm saying here? When they come and do nonsense, they get you out. De Blasio, out. That's what we do. Okay, but I would like her to win. I'm no favor of the PNM. I'm no fan of the PNM, but I'm a fan of Mrs. Sharon Nunes. She speaks with vision, not buffing people and not answering questions when they ask her questions. That's just my take on it, gentlemen. I'm outside.
Thank you
so
much.
All right. Thank you, big guy.
All right. You have a nice day.
Thank you. Be safe.
All right. I had a lot of calls coming through. 222-8255. Toll-free North Americans, 866-525-1099. All those callers that I had just now. All my lines were lit up just now. You can hit redial now. We have a guest coming up in a couple of minutes.
You get so excited with these lines light up, huh? Let me tell you.
Yeah, I do. You light. Anyway, I was going to sing a song. It's a nice day. We have some rain coming eventually, so let me not spoil it right now. All right. And we're getting Rampage is also saying no. Mario says no to the poll. Joy says, Joy, I think you have some serious issues. You have some serious anger management issues. Let go and let God, as Wendell would say. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Orlando calling.
Hey, Orlando, how are you?
I'm doing perfect, thank you. Listen, I think it's an embarrassment for Trinidad for Dr. Rowley to say we're going back. He stood up after the last election. I didn't see it, but I heard about it. Where he said, I'm going and plant peas in Tobago with my wife. This is it for me. Is it that CNN has no talent, that only Dr. Rowley, who's a very arrogant person, is very rude, who is not a statesman, you can put back up? He's an embarrassment. I don't know Karen Teixeira. I know her husband, Russell. Back in the day, he and I played soccer together with Malvern and Midbury and up in the tobacco. So I know Russell, a gentleman. I don't know Karen. So we need to look at more talent. We need to open it up. We need to find talent. The two political parties in Trinidad are led by people who believe that they are God's gift to politics. We need to do better. Otherwise, Trinidad will continue. And the statement made by people like Scotland, I am not surprised. When you have a leader who is rude, arrogant, says what he wants to people, what do you expect the followers to say? There's no example coming from Keith Rowley. Maybe a brilliant geologist, I don't know. But he needs to step down. And as Shadow says, go to Tobago and plant peas. Bring up some new talent. There must be talent in the PNM. There must be talent in Trinidad. I refuse to believe that there's only one person could lead PNM. God forbid that Dr. Rowley exits left now. What happens to the PM? Are they going to implode? Is that the PM is no longer? He should step aside as he said he would and let other talent come up and come back as a consultant, come back as an advisor. You could probably use him in some capacity, but give other talent. I've run my company for 20 years, and I started my succession planning 5 years ago. I am giving it up. By the end of this year, I'm retiring. Okay? I can stay on. I'm still young, relatively, still healthy. I just finished jogging 6 miles. You know, I'm still strong, but I pass it on. That is succession planning. That is how you run an organization. You want it to run in perpetuity, not because you are the only individual to run it. So I say Rowley should be ashamed of himself after telling the public one thing and now coming back. That's all I have to say. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good day.
All right, Orlando. Thank you so much. Have a good day. All right, let me get my guest online right now here. Right. Where did Paul disappear to?
Right here.
GT time, I thought. All right, let's get Dorothy.
Recording in progress.
Thank you, Dorothy. Morning. All right, so I do have Acting Commissioner of Police McDonald Jacob online. Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Yeah, good morning to all. I am okay this morning, preparing for a long day of work.
You're heading to Mayaro.
No, I'm heading, not this morning, I'm heading transit to have a meeting with transit police who is joining us in quest to do with things in a particular manner when it comes to crime control and crime fighting.
Your transit police still exist?
Yeah, transit police exist. You know. So I'm going to have meetings with them to mobilize them in a particular way so that they can be join with us in a coordinated manner.
Okay.
Good morning, Acting Commissioner. How are you this morning? Good?
Yeah, I am okay, man. How are you doing?
Good. Nice. Thanks for joining us on short notice.2 you give us an update on the pursuit of the 3 men who allegedly were part of the 7 who robbed the family in Mayaro, 4 of whom are now deceased?
I for this morning, I have not yet had conversations with the divisional commander of that division. I know up to last night they were still searching for the 3 men. What is important is the identity of the persons, right? The offenders who were killed in that event, and that will help us when we identify and do the profiling. More than likely, it will be easier for us to identify and look for the 3 other persons. You know, we are hopeful that they may be still in the area, and like what happened in Laramie, we were able to hold the others in hiding the next morning. But if they are out of the area, there are other intelligence work that need to be done so that we can in fact arrest the 3 other persons.
So you have not been able to identify the 4 deceased yet?
No, not as yet.
Can you just give us an an update on actually what happened? Because of course we have the various newspaper reports, but it'd be good to hear from the commissioner's own mouth.
Well, from the interim report sent to me and linking with the divisional commander and the officers on the ground, the incident occurred around 9:15 yesterday morning when one of the victims was returning home from dropping his child to school, and when he was accosted as he entered by 7 persons, and they reached the point of tying up the victims, police were out on patrol, they received information and they responded, and we know what was the end of it, where they surrounded the areas, cordoned it off, and then went in, to actually relieve the persons of what they were doing. At the end of the day, we know what was the outcome, where there was in fact a shootout, and the 4 offenders died in that exchange of gunfire.
The newspaper reports indicated that police were able to recover a sum of cash. Were weapons also recovered, and if so, what type of weapons?
Well, from the information, three pistols were recovered, and a shotgun was recovered.
3 pistols and a shotgun. Would you be able to tell us if the police were wearing body cams in that engagement?
Yes, more or less the police officers were in fact wearing body cams. It's several units that responded, and the ERP and all the other persons who normally use their body cams, as I mentioned, that 1,000 body cams, 1,000 and I think 9 body cams were in fact distributed throughout, especially to the emergency response team. So there should be also footage that can assist us in that regard in relation to what took place.
Now, you made a statement that the criminal element should not engage the police if they value their lives. Give us some context to that, because clearly we've had now the situation at the Pennywise outlet, and now this outlet where the criminal elements clearly have been ramping up their intensity and firing at police and civilians. Does this surprise you at this point, and what's your message to the population, and in particular the criminals who seek to engage in this kind of illegal activity?
Well, when I spoke to you all on the last occasion, I mentioned that whole psychology of firearm, possession of a firearm, which empowers persons, give them a false sense of security, that they feel that they reach the point of being a super person and they can do whatever they wish. And I also talk about the narrative in the social media and other places, like if the police service now is weak and they don't have leadership and the persons are unprofessional, and it's sending the wrong message. And from talking to officers who are on the ground, they indicate that sometimes when they arrest persons, they're actually indicating some of the reasons why they thought that they could have gotten involved in activities and get away. So we know as a fact that they are listening and the wrong message is being sent. So we are saying we have ramped up the manner in which we do things. You hear me talk about the active directed grid patrols that we are doing. The additional 80 vehicles that we got during the course of this year was divided among all the divisions so that they will be able to respond and carry out the new approach in a more effective manner. And we talk about the work that we did with the traffic and highway patrol and what we are doing with the other units. As we get more tools, we'll be more and more effective. And with the grid patrols, one of the, some say negative, some say positive, that comes out of it is that when something happens, our response time will improve tremendously. And more or less, there will be engagement, because once persons, offenders have firearms, they believe that is a good opportunity that they can shoot their way out of an incident once they are cornered by the police. And I'm indicating that is the mistake that they are making, right? In not only just engaging the police, but even deciding that it's safe for them to go there and commit offenses, commit robberies, and they will in fact get away with it. We have changed the paradigm. We have shifted from having just sectionalization, I put it like that, to the divisionalization, meaning to say that every police division must sit on its own and must be able to manage their division. The divisional commanders now are called upon to account. They are providing with the tools and the manpower and the additional training. Right? There is a lot of management principles that comes in there with accountability, everything, and we use our ComStat as the middle of it and our operational centers. So the divisional commanders now, each individual will be called upon to account. So no longer is there like a section coming in after the fact to deal with a situation. The divisions need to deal with it on their own. Yes, you will have support when something is extreme, because we have the National Operational Task Force, which was formerly SWOT. They're going to help in operations. We have the multi-optional police section. We have ITF, we have GB. We have the ERP that helps with doing the patrols, but the ultimate responsibility is on the divisional commanders and the station commanders. So now you'll find that the divisions will be more organized and will be able to respond to things and not waiting on no particular section to come in there and do the work for them.
Commissioner, I'm asking you to take your mind back to the Pennywise incident, where there's some, well, I'm confused a bit. And if you can clarify for me, did the police engage the Pennywise assailants on the Pennywise compound or in that surroundings, or while they were making their escape?
It's while they were actually making the escape, where the police had chased the vehicles and the abandoned vehicles and the chase and continued, because remember, in our grid method, when something happens, we cordon off an area, so it is difficult for persons who are trying to escape to get out of a cordon. And what happens as they turn in different directions, they will be seeing police at different locations. So it was actually cordoning off an area, and then when they realized that they cannot get out, they abandoned their vehicle and went into the home, the downstairs of the
So to your knowledge, the police did not discharge any weapons on the Pennywise compound?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, and you know why I'm asking that. But I don't want to bring you into influencing the investigation, because there had been suggestions by the father of the boy who was injured that it may have been a police bullet or discharged by a police officer. But to my memory, the police did not engage those assailants until they were trying to escape out of that compound. Would that be correct?
Well, you are correct. You are correct, and in fact, the child that got grazed or so, that happened on Laramie on the main road. It did not happen at the Pennywise compound. So it actually happened in Laramie on the main road, and that is under investigation, and you know the rules in relation to that aspect of it.
Well, you've added a lot of clarity there. Now I understand, because my impression was it happened in the Pennywise compound. So I wouldn't push you any further because the investigation is ongoing. You mentioned earlier this week also, it's reported in newspapers, that you are concerned, or we should all be concerned, that there are now females involved in gangs. And we've seen 42 police killings, but there's a concern that there are more females involved in gangs and women are putting themselves in more vulnerable positions in this regard. Could you expand on that a bit for me? Is there more female involvement in gangs in the country today?
No. Females always play a part when it comes to gangs in some way or the other. But what we saw happening within the past year or two is that the number of women right, being killed, right, and what we classify as gang-related, increased from 102 to 7, and when we look at it, we saw that it was an increase. That does not mean to say that there's an increase in women in gang violence. The increase in women being victims of gang-related incidents where they could be together with a partner who is in fact involved in a gang, and now the gangs long ago had rules that they never used to hurt women, but we see like those rules are now changed. So therefore, in some instances, you saw women are getting killed. That doesn't mean to say that there is an increase in women involved in gang activities, but the women who are involved with them, whether or not in relationships, or whether or not it's a sister or whatsoever, the other groups are no longer following the rules that you will not necessarily look to hurt women. They are now doing that, right? And that is because also with the proliferation of these submachine guns, and not the single pistols, you will find an increase in the situation that when the persons are out there and they fire upon one individual, you will always find that others will be hurt, whether or not they meant to hurt that person, yes or no. And they will still be responsible for the person's death. But this is what we see happening within the recent months.
Anecdotally, I've also heard from more than one source that the gangs are actively recruiting minors. It may be in positions where they're warning gang members that police are approaching, or they may be more sinister involvement of minors in their activities. Do you have that sort of information also, and can you give us some context where that is concerned, please?
Well, that information is very correct, and minors we consider persons under the age of 18, and it is so that they use recruit young persons. And in Chicago and Los Angeles and those places, it also happened, because you'll find that when minors are arrested for particular offenses, they are treated as minors. So instead of the adults carry out the activities, they allow the minors to carry it out, because the court in itself tends to be more lenient on the minors. So they actually exploit the whole system by using minors. I was in Aranguez secondary school over the weekend, where we had the launch of our first paramilitary youth club there, and the principal was there, and he is indicating that every year he lose one or two of the youths from the school, right, are murdered, who are involved in gang activities. And when you talk to the principal, there was another principal there, they will tell you that there are a good few young persons who they are aware of who are involved in gang activities. So therefore, there is in fact clear evidence that they are looking to recruit young persons down up to the age of 11, whether or not to be looked out, whether or not to give them a gun in their hand, do initiation. Those things are happening, and that is the reason why we are pushing on the other side to do prevention, to create a shield to prevent young people from joining gangs and making it difficult for the persons who wish to recruit these young persons to join in the gangs, like that police paramilitary youth club is another move ahead to create that shield, that buffer.
But how pervasive is it? I also understand that the gangs are using minors to actually sell drugs in schools. Well,
long ago we had that happening, and I would say we still have it happening now. And the reason why we had that changed the laws to include that anyone who even have possession of drugs within 500 meters of a school, they deal with it as possession for trafficking, things like that, in order to prevent persons targeting the school, the young persons. But it is not so prevalent as how it was long ago. You will find now they are recruiting young persons to even go at corners on the street to sell drugs, and we are aware of that. But around the school premises itself, you have a reduction in that, but you still have where, especially during the holiday period, where some of the young persons are being targeted to carry out these illicit activities.
What about the situation in the prisons? Do you think we have made some progress in the issue related to hits being called from inside the prison, the contraband that's facilitating the inmates communicating with their cohorts outside or their colleagues outside to call in some prisons officers and create mayhem in the general society?
I think we have reached the stage that we have neutralized it. We have neutralized it to a point, but they are always coming up with innovative ways of getting around systems that are put in place, because once you have complicity existing within the walls, by persons in authority, you will find that when you set up barriers, it is broken over a period. So the same way we need to be innovative, and as we develop the intelligence, in some instances you will see some persons who are supposed to be law enforcement or prison officers or so end up before the court. So we continue doing the work. We have in fact stemmed that occurrence to a point, but as I said, it can raise its head at any point in time because of complicity that exists within the walls.
Now, the budget debate is ongoing. I saw the Minister of National Security made his presentation in the lower house yesterday, and the Minister of Finance, while piloting the budget last week, indicated that the cost for application for FULs is going to increase significantly. Are you in agreement with this move? And if so, why?
I think that
asking you. Mm-hmm.
I am, I'm against the proliferation of firearms in Trinidad and Tobago, whether or not it is illegal or legal firearms. I'm not in agreement at all with some individuals having 20, 27, 15 and so firearms. I'm not in agreement with that at all. I'm in agreement with individuals who really deserve firearms to be issued with FUL. So I have no anything against that. And it will definitely be difficult for individuals who wish to have 10 and 15, and if they were given such, when you have to pay a yearly renewal of your license, which is very high. I think in some instances up to 5,000 or 10,000 or whatsoever. It will be very, very difficult. So it will not be encouraging for persons to go into the direction to try to get 5, 6, and 10 and 15 firearms because it will be too costly. But what I want to say clearly that under my watch, no one will be issued with 10 and 15 and 20 firearms at all. But individuals who are deserving of firearms and they reach the necessary criteria will be granted the FUL.
So you're in agreement with the policy in so much as it manages the number of FULs and guns in hands in the country?
Yes, well, I think that is the mischief. That is the mischief behind the whole thing, in order to encourage persons from, in fact, going in that direction, but it still leave up to the discretion of the Commissioner of Police according to how the law is couched now, and you've got to be responsible, and there must be equitable distribution of the firearms throughout where persons deserve firearms. So if someone was given 27 firearms and that person really supposed to really be issued 1 or 2, that is 25 persons who probably were denied an issuance of firearms to deserve. So you must have that equitable distribution, and I believe what was introduced there will act as some deterrent to that. But it shouldn't be that. People must be responsible. We must be responsible because. But
with that said, when those persons, because clearly you're against one person having this inordinate amount of firearm users license and by extension firearms. When those persons come for renewal, is it that given your just articulated position, that there will be a revision of the eligibility of those persons to automatically get that number of FULs renewed?
Well, I know that we have the OLEP, law enforcement unit, reviewing the entire FUL process and the Firearms Act, and there will be amendments being made to make whatever we want to do as, in fact, lawful acts. So I'll wait those necessary amendments to take place. You know, if persons did not reach the criteria, well, action will definitely be taken. But there need to be amendments to the law, and as the law amends, right, persons will be advised accordingly.
That's a real politically correct way of saying them and getting them 27 FULs back. Commissioner, in our last few minutes here, well said though. The budget is ongoing, as I said a while ago. And what is the priority for the TTPS in terms of funding out of the Ministry of National Security at this point?
Well, you know, our priority is the first line of defense. Our first line of defense is having sufficient vehicles, you know, as a tool to do our great patrols. That is priority. That is crime prevention. To have that high level of presence, which raises the confidence and trust and improving our response time. So that is necessary. And as you know, we introduced a fleet management policy and a maintenance policy now that was not really existing. So now the vehicles will be managed more effectively. The other aspect that is very, very important to us is our continued development of information, communication, and technology. We had an IT department before, and we had communication separate. In our new strategic plan this year, I've now introduced, combine it to ICT, meaning to say information, communication, and technology, because it works hand in hand now. The development of that, getting our AFIS, our automated fingerprint identification system up and running as it should, and our operational center. So the technological aspect and the increase in the use of drones linking with our operational centers, you know, and the development of our coastal and riverine units. Those things are paramount to us at this point in time. Those two are the two top: information, communication, and technology, which run like a thread through the police service, and also having mobility. And then other aspects that we talk about when we talk about no printer, no copier, all of that is some financial management and systems issues that we need to put in place, and no budget can deal with that really. It's for us here to manage, because we get sufficient funding to manage those things. But if it is not managed effectively, so that is the reason why you'll find now the police service now is a part of HMAS. Right, we have been, I let the police service, our management team, join and attend those conferences, because the whole thought process has to change, that the management aspect of it, you know, is very, very crucial of human resource management and managing our equipment, everything. We have now placed it now as one of our strategic priorities. We talk about occupational health, all right, and safety aspects of as a pillar, dealing with all aspects of the equipment, every single thing. So that also plays a very, very important part in us going forward. You know, as I said, in between all the bones that we talk about, there are the flesh and the veins and the arteries, and that comes out from the human resource management department and the financial management of the police service. And that's the reason why I said that as a commissioner, and you are sitting here, is not just about what you see on the outside there, but it's how things are managed, which will transcend outside in all the various stations and sections. So we need to get that right.
Commissioner, as per usual, we thank you for your time and making yourself available and your contribution this morning. Our project I'm working on, I'd like to talk to you offline about it, if you are willing.
Yeah, no problem at all.
All right, Commissioner. Thank you
Right.
so much. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Chief. All the best to you.
Yeah, no
Recording
problem.
stopped.
Thank you. Take care. All right. Of course, I was Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. McDonald Jacob. As we head towards our 8 a.m. News brief, just want to remind you of our morning poll.